How's it hanging, YouTube? It's Peter here, your Ginger Jody Geek. Welcome back to the channel for a spotlight on Punisher, our favourite serial killer. So, can't do this alone. So, let's see who we've got with us tonight. We'll start off with good old James T.
Ayo.
Ayo, indeed. How are you, my friend?
What's going on, man? I think technically he qualifies as a mass murderer.
Mass murderer,
Yeah, he'd be up there, wouldn't he?
Well, I certainly think he would be. We're going to get into that in a bit because, he's an interesting character, isn't he?
Yeah,
looking forward to chatting. Next up, we've got our good friend, JP. How are you doing, bud?
I'm all good. It's hanging slightly to the left tonight.
Is it? Are you dressing to the left?
Yeah. To the left.
Yeah,
to the
good
left.
man. Are you ready for some Punisher action?
Definitely.
We've got the t-shirt on.
Got
James,
the t-shirt
on.
No, I remember we were in the shop together and I wanted to buy one and I didn't. But if
I
had,
said no.
I would be wearing that now.
So JP's got a t-shirt on. I've got.
I have a t-shirt, but not a Punisher.
Stormtrooper Punisher on. Let's see if our last guest has put any effort in, because you know what he's like. Let's see. Benjamin.
Of course. Hello.
Have you grown that hair overnight? Because you didn't have that last night.
Yeah, there's quite a centre parting I'm rocking there, isn't it? Yeah, it's not the right wig. I look awful.
It's a nice wig. I like it. You could double for. If you had a little tash, it could be a Hitler wig as well, couldn't it? It's quite another mass murderer. Anyway, so nice to see you.
Wow.
Are you ready for some Punisher action, Ben?
Yeah, I am. I'm a massive fan of the character. So yeah, when you sort of announced we were doing the Punisher, I was very, very happy. So I'm looking forward to this.
Good stuff. Let's get stuck in. So before we begin, let's just quickly see who's in the chat. We've got good old StreamYard.
Quack.
Quack.
That's impressive.
We've got funny, Fuzzy asking for some punishment. He is funny, yeah. Fuzzy would like to be punished. I'm sure he would. We've got Captain Comics. Ahoy, mate. Nice to see you. We've got Big Stack. Nice to see you, Big Stack. Thank you very much for joining. Okay, guys. So let's just crack straight on and get into this. So as usual with our spotlight shows, what we're going to do is we're going to touch on the history of the Punisher, talk a little bit about his media appearances, talk about some of the merchandise attached to him, and also look at. Sorry, I've just spotted one of Fuzzy's comments that I missed before. Yeah, it is weird. Yeah,
dramatic. What's Grease Lightning?
We're gonna cover some recommendations, some reads that we'd like to kind of mention. Okay, so let's start off with a little bit of history of the Punisher. First of all, guys, let's just quickly catch up. Are we big Punisher fans? Who's a familiar reader of the Punisher? James, how about you?
In and out.
Yeah, I suggested this episode because it's a character that we've been doing these shows for a couple of years nearly now, and we've never really talked much about him. But like for me, he's up there with Spider-Man. I think tied as my favorite Marvel character. I've always been a kind of a big anti-hero guy. The darker ones I tend to lean to, and I think he perfectly encapsulates all of that.
Yeah. I mean, he's a character. I don't think we haven't done a what if on the Punisher, have we?
No.
Be an interesting one to maybe come back to. Ben, what about yourself?
Yeah, I've pretty much been into Frank from the day I was into Marvel. When you first get into Marvel Comics and stuff, of course, you kind of see who else is in the universe, and immediately I was sort of drawn to this character that kind of, has you kind of questioning your own morals. And sort of taps into a sort of really interesting area, I think, in terms of like vigilantism and kind of what makes a hero and stuff like that. So yeah, just immediately intrigued, and as I've got older, that fascination has only kind of got deeper, really. And we're very fortunate that we live in a time now where we kind of get multiple versions and different sort of storytellers are having a stab at telling the story. And it's mad for me, and I know we're going to touch upon it later, but like for me, like one of the best stories is only just happening now, like, and that's pretty amazing, really. So yeah.
I mean, it's interesting the comment you made then about them being a bit of an anti-hero and things like that. In reality, we shouldn't really like this guy, should we? I mean, he is a mass murderer, isn't he?
He's a lunatic, absolute lunatic. Yeah. That's what I love about him, is he is the villain in any other story except his own, you know.
Yeah, but it kind of like, you know, and I know pretty much this whole panel are flans.
I've always been a flan. Yeah.
Flan. We're all fans of slashers, right? And horror films. Yeah. And it kind of taps into that similar area where we've got this kind of weird thing where we quite enjoy watching people get the comeuppance, you know, that potentially deserve it. And you know, it's probably quite alarming if you break it down, but there's also a lot of fun to be had with it as well, though.
Oh yeah, and I think the comics quite often make stress the point that these are bad people that he's going for. Do you know what I mean? It's and again, like you said, we'll touch on it later on. He comes close to shooting a child in one of the recent issues of Punisher, but sways away, and that's kind of that moral ambiguity, I guess, which is really interesting with the character. What about you, GP? You a big fan?
Yeah, I've been a fan of Punisher for a few years now. Got some of the early stuff, war journals and stuff like that. It's just a character I've always been drawn to.
Yeah, he's a very interesting character, isn't he? I mean, there's a few comments there in the thing. Efren, who's joining us from El Salvador, thank you very much, bud. Back on Friday night, so looking forward to seeing you, mate. If you're not reading Daredevil and Punisher, you're missing out. Absolutely, Efren. I've been reading Punisher since the start of this issue, this kind of new run, because Ben told us to read it. And I've been reading the recent issues of Daredevil, and I know you're a big fan of those. But yeah, absolutely amazing run at the moment. I would really recommend it. We'll talk about that later on. Fuzzy's saying he only started reading them this last Punisher run, but it's been great. Yeah, I love a street level badass over any cosmic space superhero stuff. Fuzzy, that's a really interesting comment, because when we get a few slides on, they've made some interesting choices with Punisher over the years. He's not always been the street level hero, and I think every time they kind of try and divert away from that street level hero, it goes a bit awry. That said, the recent run, which is a bit of a push, is phenomenal. But yeah, you're right, bud. It's a superb series. Okay. So, I mean, I don't think I need to have to go over the background and history of Punisher here for you. Amazing Spider-Man 129, the first appearance of the Punisher in that classic kind of costume. Frank's backstory, you all know, family murdered in Central Park. There's been various reasons behind that in the years, and they've kind of futzed with the origin a little bit. But the basic premises is that he's returned from war, gone for a picnic with his family, and his wife and 2 children are mowed down in a crossfire, basically. And that sets him on the path to being the Punisher. And that starts him on his kind of one-man war against crime. And that's what we've seen in the comics and in the movies. This guy who's basically life has become ending criminals and seeking revenge, really, I guess you would argue. Not always alone, but so he has made some team appearances. He tends to work alone, but he has been in a few different series. He's been in Savage Avengers, and he was in Thunderbolts for a while. Quite often crossovers with Daredevil, although I can't say they see eye to eye, but they are kind of linked. You guys very familiar with any of his team book appearances? James, have you read any of his team books?
I've read a few Daredevil issues where he has kind of guest spots in that, and I think I've read a couple of the issues of the Thunderbolts one that he was in a while ago anyway.
Yeah. Ben, what about you? Do you like him in a team, or do you prefer him as the standalone guy?
I think it's he's more compelling as a solo character. I like where characters will cross his path or try and kind of interfere with his business. I always think that's quite interesting, but I think he just kind of, it's not as interesting when he's part of a team and stuff like that, because it almost feels out of character, I think, sometimes.
Absolutely.
Especially knowing that like some of his teammates, like what they've done, potentially they fit under the criteria of like being, you know, a victim. So, but I saying that, as James mentioned there, the Thunderbolts run I loved. I'm going to touch upon sort of Civil War later, and but I prefer him by himself, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about Civil War later on, there's a key scene that always comes to mind for me that kind of just shows the different mindset he has to the other characters, but I'm sure I'll touch on that later on. JP, have you read any of these early Miller kind of Daredevil issues? That's good cover.
I've just started reading Daredevil by Frank Miller, so just got Born Again. But I do remember reading The Punisher in Amazing Spider-Man. I think it was Round Robin.
Yeah.
Where the villains swapped which heroes to go after. I think that was the one. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely agree with Ben. I prefer Frank by himself doing what he does.
Yeah, I think he's a standalone character more than anything. I think Fuzzy's just saying there, as for the anti-hero stuff, the past 20 years, all the biggest TV shows have had a questionable lead. The Wire, Tony Soprano. Oh God, I love Dexter. Game of Thrones, Succession, all torture. Yeah, I mean, again, you're absolutely right, Fuzzy. And it's interesting that society, because you know I'm very moralistic and stuff, but society is leaning more towards this kind of wanting to see bad people punished in a bad way, I guess.
I think Dexter is a spot on comparison to me, because like he has this kind of compulsion to kill people. I think Frank has that too. Like there's sort of, you know, there's various kind of storylines where it's like he just enjoys killing people. That's like a part of why he does this.
Yeah.
But
no, absolutely.
Not, you know, that, like, I mean, not to get too deep into the psychology and things like that, but it's like, it's fantasy, right? It's a escapism, and we're watching someone deliver justice, you know, in a way that the real world can't, you know, and the real world shouldn't. And that in itself is an escapism, is a fantasy, you know. And I think that's why we like watching your Franks, your Dexters, you know, your these guys that will do the things that could never be done and shouldn't ever be done, you know, for various reasons as well. So,
and I think it's interesting. I think you're absolutely right, and I think it's part of it as well as because, and I'm saying from my point of view, I would imagine a lot of people think the same thing, but people are very jaded with the justice system these days, with seeing people not really get the punishment that we think they deserve. So yeah, there is something about that. Hi, nice of you to join, bud. Hope you're well. Okay, moving on. I found this a little bit challenging, actually. This isn't my slide. I found this on the internet. But when it came to kind of naming top villains, when we've done these shows in the past, like we've done Batman and Spider-Man, all the rest of it, I could rattle them off my tongue, you know. But for Punisher, obviously Jigsaw is a big one.
He kills them.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, the Russian. I couldn't remember what the little old lady with no arms and legs was called.
Manucci.
Yeah, Kingpin, maybe's Bullseye, maybe's.
But he shares a lot of Daredevil villains.
Yeah, Daredevil.
Bullseye's a Punisher villain as well. Kingpin,
but I think, like you say, Ben, other than that, you're right. He kills him, and it is street level, so you get a lot of issues with basically criminals, don't you? Not named superhero characters, just drug dealers, all that kind of jazz, who he wipes out. So what about you guys? Are you guys familiar with any of these characters or any big villains jump to mind?
Yeah, Barracuda, Jigsaw, and the Russian.
Barracuda, I'm not familiar with at all.
Barracuda. There's another one, I think a Daredevil villain as well. Bushwhacker.
Yes,
I kind of think of him as a Punisher villain more than I use Daredevil one as well. But Barracuda I always like the kind of design for as well. This entire right side of the screen, I've never heard any of these characters.
No. I mean, Jigsaw is a classic, isn't he? A pretty horrific character. Ben, I'm surprised. Have you done a Jigsaw cosplay?
Yeah, it was one of my cosplay at homes during the pandemic. I'm actually really proud of it. Like, it came out really good. I just, did face paint and a suit and stuff, but it looked pretty cool. I might bust it out to a convention one day. But yeah, for me, I think Jigsaw and Russian are kind of the ones that are synonymous, I think, with Punisher. And I genuinely, like, I joke that it's because he kills them, but I do they're not like, the stories aren't like a lot of superhero stories where it's like every few months Green Goblin comes back, with a new plan, because part of the story is that Punisher usually finds a way to properly dispatch him, and he's effective, and I think that's kind of the joy of it. And like, you almost don't want, I guess, you like, a lot of villains, especially in Marvel, will have that like almost like some element of empathy to the character, or like justification, and you almost don't want that with Punisher villains, because if you did, then it makes him look worse, for what he's going to do to them. So but I think that's the joy of it, the street level. Like, even this, other than this Olivier, I think they all look pretty rooted in reality. So that's one of the joys.
Yeah. No, again, I think you're right. I think if you were to have your traditional Marvel costumed kind of bad guy that keeps turning up, it would totally destroy the reality in some regards of the character, because you kind of want to believe that this is a guy just wandering around with a gun shooting people. And if you've got him facing super villains and whatnot, it kind of loses the essence of the character, I would argue. Efren's just saying, I think Punisher considers everyone his enemy except Captain America. Yeah, there's a respect aspect of Cap. Yeah, again, Efren, bang on, mate. Some of my favorite issues, and I think Ben might touch on it with the Civil War, is this relationship between Punisher and Captain America and the respect he's got for him. There's an excellent series, which I don't think we've got on the list later on, where Captain America becomes a zombie, or he can feel himself turn into a zombie, and Punisher has to shoot him in the head. Captain America kind of kneels down and asks him to kill him, and it's a tragic scene. It's very, very good. Fuzzy's just saying the Jigsaw Marvel Legends one of his favorite. Yeah, it's a stunner. It's an absolute stunner, mate. I had that one a few years back, and I think I sold it.
It came out right after the new one came out right after I stopped collecting, and I was like, man, it would have been great.
I think I might have to get that. I like that. Okay, moving on. Excuse me. He's had a few different outfits in his time, has our Frank. Some of them very, very cool, very classic looking. Some of them just absolute shit. That one in the middle there, where he's in his superhero kind of costume, this is after Captain America was killed, and he kind of has a phase where he's trying to not replace but empathize, I guess, Captain America, and that's just, I don't know what Marvel were doing there. I don't know if they were trying to change him in some way. Then we've got the Thunderbolts costume. I love the War Machine armor version, and we'll get to that later on. That's a stunning costume. Any of those jump out to you guys as good or bad?
I've always been a trench coat, fingerless gloves kind of guy with my Punisher look, so that's always been my favorite. But I think this is like original.
The gloves tonight.
I actually
I've got some as well.
When I was like 9 or 10, I think I was doing a Punisher costume for Halloween, and I was cutting the fingerless. The fingers off the gloves, but I said I don't know why I decided this, but I was like, I had the gloves on when I cut around my finger, and I sliced into my finger, and I have a scar still. Yeah, here, you won't be able to see it here, but I have a little scar. So that's my little Punisher scar.
What did your finger do to deserve that?
Yeah, it was rough. Next. That's how big a fan of this character I am. I carry him with me everywhere I go.
Yeah, scarred for life.
Squirt the blood all over the skull.
Very good, very good. Yeah. What about you, GP? Any of those jump out at you?
Yeah, I'm the same with James. Just a trench coat and classic suits.
Yeah,
that was my favorite. And then the War Machine one is absolutely brilliant as well.
I love the War Machine one. Yeah. And Ben, I'm going to guess you're a trench coat guy.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you can't be a classic, but you know what you haven't got up there? Frankencastle.
We're getting to him.
Oh, okay. Sorry, am I jumping the gun? All Cosmic Ghost Rider. Yeah.
These are a few of his kind of classics. You've got your white gloves.
I love the white gloves. Though.
Yeah, I love the white gloves. Yeah, absolutely.
See, I don't know which I prefer, the white gloves or the trench coat look. The white gloves, I think, looks more Marvel superhero-y costume, whereas the trench coat looks...
white gloves look like not silly these days, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get him in white gloves in the
100%? Absolutely. I think it'll be like a tactical. It'll be like kind of a like a dark white. Do you know what I mean? Like a light, really white gray.
I like the idea of a tactical white glove, James. That's
no, do you know what I mean? It'll be like the two fingers gone on it, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Combat gloves. Like, yeah.
Are you guys familiar with this setup that he's got on the other side of the screen?
Never seen it. I'm very curious.
You read that series, Ben?
I don't think it's that Olivia Coipel.
I think so, yeah. So this is an amazing run, and again, I'll touch on it later on. This was after
Punisher Kills the Marvel.
No, this is in continuity. This is after Norman Osborn becomes kind of is he the president or something for a while or something?
Yeah.
And Frank Castle basically somehow gets a catch of all of the kind of the Marvel superhero weapons. So he's got kind of Taskmaster's shield, Ant-Man's helmet. And the first few issues are absolutely stunning. And again, like I say, we'll talk about it later on. But it's a real fun run where basically it's Punisher with access to Marvel superheroes' weaponry. And he goes out killing people in some tremendous ways. Really good run, but we'll touch on it in a bit. Couple of overpowered Punishers here. We've got Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is a relatively recent addition to the Marvel Universe, but an absolutely amazing story. This is Frank Castle in the future, where he's got the Spirit of Vengeance powers now. And it's amazing. Any of you guys reading that or read that?
Yeah.
I haven't, no.
Oh, superb.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things that Marvel have done in the last sort of 10 years or so. Like, it's just so ridiculous. And like the characterization of, Frank's broken anyway, but like, what if he like breaks even more, like completely loses it? Like it's really fun. Very cool aesthetics and stuff.
Well worth reading. He's introduced in Thanos Wins, which is a couple of issues of the Thanos series, which is superb, set in the future, and you kind of see him in that. It's an amazing storyline. The center one is what we'll call dog shit. I don't know if you guys have read any of that. This is just awful. This is the Punisher when they redid him under the Marvel Knights banner. He'd been killed at this point by Nick Fury, I think, and they brought him back as an angel kind of thing to hunt evil. So he doesn't have guns. He has kind of magical bullets and things like that. Have you read any of that?
No.
Yeah, I don't think I will.
It's hard work. So I think it was around the time they decided basically that they didn't want him. He was too violent of a character. So the answer to that was to make him kind of this agent of heaven or wherever, where he was killing demons. And that way you got away with him killing people, as it were.
I'm just trying to think what was around at that time that they maybe like Buffy or something. Maybe they were inspired by.
It looks very Hellraiser, like trying to.
It's not good. I would avoid that. Yeah. And then we've got the period where he donned the War Machine armor, which was superb. Absolutely love that run. Very, very cool design. Now, I don't know if, Ben, you're going to touch on it later on, but there have been rumours swirling, and like most rulers, it might be utter bollocks, but there's been rumours swirling that he's going to appear in Armor Wars before he hits Daredevil, and he's going to wear the War Machine armor. Any of you guys heard of that?
I haven't, but
I've been knocking about for a while, that rumor.
Bound to happen at some point. Like, Barnthal's back for the next few years, and surely this is a storyline that got to.
I think it would look very cool. I'm quite interested in that. Fuzzy's made a cracking point here, which I never even considered. He always took the black and white to represent the two sides of him, good and evil. Don't know if that's the point, but that's how he looked at it. I've never thought of it in that way, Fuzzy.
Makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Like the yin and yang.
Yeah, interesting. Efren, if he puts on the white gloves, it will be just as a nod to the comic book like they did with Luke Cage when he put on the silver headband. Yeah, I think you're right, Efren. I don't think you'll keep the costume.
I disagree. I think we're getting a hot toy and everything of him in that with the white gloves. I'm certain of it. We got yellow Daredevil. We're getting white gloves.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong, James. You're not wrong, mate. Yeah. And if that hot toy comes out, I'm buying it.
Yeah, I think I will as well.
Ben.
Yeah, just a couple of my previous. It's a character I've cosplayed like numerous times now. So look how young and skinny
I was going to say, look how young. I mean, is it even you?
Fuck you. Yeah. Yeah, just a real fun character. You know, a character that when you cosplay, there's no wrong answer. Really, you can really kind of have fun, and with you know, this on the left is pretty much my own kind of design and concept, and you know, it was a t-shirt that had kind of, I don't know, got a stain on it, so I was like, right, well, let's mess it up and do a bullet hole and stuff like that. And then I had a real fun day out by the Thames there with my mates, Wolverine and Deadpool, and we did like a little kind of Punisher versus X-Men shoot, which was a good fun day.
Superb. How old were you there?
Like 20, not young, like early 20s, maybe mid 20s.
Looks very cool. I have to say,
before I had a life, clearly.
Looks very, very good.
Yeah.
And then this one.
And then this was just one of the ones I did for cosplay at home, and yeah, just got a £10 mask and did a kind of tribute to the Punisher noir look, which is really cool. Like when I was kind of
any Punisher noir.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah,
like I think like some characters I don't necessarily like. I don't think they suit the world, but like
X-Men doesn't. But
yeah, exactly. But
Punisher
like Punisher as a character just completely slots into that as a interpretation. So yeah, this is just a little tribute to that.
Yeah. I'm actually annoyed I didn't put this in my my recommendeds. Now, kind of slipped my mind. Yeah.
It looks very cool. I have to say, I've never seen. Like I say, I've never seen that design either. So I've never read the book. Looks very good. Okay, guys. So that was just a little bit about the kind of the history of the Punisher. We're going to move on to media now. So Ben, I shall hand over to you.
Yes. So just some animated versions first. So from left to right, we've of course got probably everyone or most people's introduction to Frank, which was through the Spider-Man animated series back in the 90s, voiced by John Beck, and sort of first appeared in the second season of that. And then we got Superhero Squad, which
I love.
Yeah, if people have not seen Superhero Squad, go out of your way and watch Superhero Squad. Like, genuinely, it's so much fun, and they do shit that like other things have never done but are from the comics or whatever, and it's just so much fun. But this is from the episode Night in the Sanctorum, and it's actually Ray Stevenson who voices Punisher in this, which is pretty fun. And then this was from an anime which GP probably knows more about than me. I've never seen it. The Avengers Confidential.
If you keep your eyes open on my other channel, Destroy All Movies, fingers crossed this will be on there really soon.
Nice.
I think I might have seen this one because they did a
Black
few
Widow and Punisher.
Yeah,
Punisher, Black Widow, Avengers, Confidential. Yeah, I've seen this. Norman Reedus.
Who voices Punisher in it?
I believe he voiced Punisher in one of the animated things. I think that's the one.
Okay, cool.
I think it is him. Yeah. Great voice for him, actually.
Yeah,
good job.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see. He couldn't play it though, like voice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, Avengers Assemble there on the far right. This was more of just a cameo in the Planet Doom episode. So it's a shame we didn't see that properly sort of fleshed out in that version. But yeah, just some animated versions.
Very cool.
Of our boy.
Good stuff.
Whoa. And then live action. So Dolph Lundgren on the left there from the 1989 film. So that was from the year I was born. No skull. A lot of the story was very, very different. Can you even call this Punisher?
He had the skull, just not in the costume. He had it on the end of a knife. Have you seen it? Have you seen the movie?
Yeah,
I've seen enough.
I mean, he's not a good actor anyway, to be fair.
Now, if you look, though, at, like, late 80s Punisher, like, sketches and stuff, he is bang on. Like, he looks exactly like him, bar the skull. But, like, this is, like, it's of its time. It's a stupid, bad 80s action movie. So, like, there's fun to be had, I think, checking this one out. It's good to have a few drinks,
but
chat over it.
Bizarre decision, but to make a Punisher movie and not have him wearing the Punisher logo.
It's too comic booky, I think, at the time.
Sorry, Ben, we interrupted. But yeah,
no, I completely disagree with James. So moving on to the 2004 version, then Thomas Jane. Obviously, again, this one, I think for a lot of people, this might feel like their Punisher because of the time that it came out. John Travolta starring as Howard Saint in this film. You know what? This was actually one of the films that I did for It's Not That Bad, and it was so great to kind of revisit it. And I just had a ball with it. I really did. It's a good film. It's a good film.
It is a good film.
I mean, well, a couple of things. I don't like the change to the origin at the start, but it's hilarious throughout the movie. I mean, the bit where Travolta flips his wife over the edge of the bridge. Is just
I love the kind of psychological warfare he's playing, where he's parking the car.
I love that bit, where he kind of lays out everything he's done to him. Kind of chucking the parking receipts and all that kind of stuff. But actually, the action at the end is fucking brilliant with the bow and arrow and everything.
Absolutely, really well directed. It's a great throwback to kind of Death Wish 1970s, kind of revenge thrillers. Tom Jane, amazing choice for the character, and when I read the comics, this and another thing we'll talk about later is why when I read the comics, I hear his voice. So I'm always been my definitive. But this is the only Marvel thing my dad will watch. This is one of his favorite movies. Yeah, so it's it has a special place in my heart because it's something we can sit down and watch together.
He's another one of those characters, Tom Jane, that I feel for in terms of he's similar to which one? Henry Cavill, in that he absolutely loved this character. It was his dream job to get it. He'd done all the research, and he got one movie and. Was it a direct-to-video, or was it kind of a fan-made thing, the washing machine thing?
Fan-made.
Yeah, so 2012, Dirty Laundry came out with Ron Perlman in and stuff, and it was just a fan-made 10-minute thing. But it debuted at Comic-Con, and obviously caught a lot of wind because people were just happy to sort of see him back in the role. Stop trying to make it happen.
Please. Fuzzy, we've been banging on about this for bloody months. We should be bringing it back.
It's over. I can't be asked. So I think we can all agree we think of that film very fondly. Before we move on, actually, from that film, the Russian scene is still one of my favorite fights in superhero films. Full stop.
Absolutely. Same.
One of the best fights. Is it true that he actually got knifed, the Russian guy?
Yeah. The bit where he stabs him is real.
It's Kevin Nash. He's NWO for life, baby. He's hard.
I want to give a shout out to the Harry Heck scene where he walks in the diner and plays that song. In Time, I think. I thought that was an excellent scene as well. I'm gonna play it at your funeral. It's great. Love this one. It's so good.
Punisher Warzone then. This was 2008. So this, I think at the time, I think a lot of people very harshly jumped down the throat of this because it was kind of in the position of what Thomas Jane's sort of sequel could have been. And I think a lot of people kind of rebelled against that and, kind of campaigned against this film. And it absolutely tanked, I think, by all accounts at the time. But I do think that over time, it's picked up a bit of a kind of cult status. I mean, we mentioned earlier Ray Stevenson voicing in Superhero Squad. So I think, I think I'm one of them. I'm a massive fan of this film.
Snap.
I do Thomas Jane. That was the time it came out was intro, but I would lean towards this being my favorite. Just because for me the approach to violence is just kind of completely absurd and slapstick at times, but Ray Stevenson just completely embodies you know, the anger and the hatred of Frank. I think he does it really well without having to show the family stuff, and you know, it kind of doesn't retread what had already been shown to us over and over, and just kind of just gives us a fun Punisher, like Punisher's Big Day Out, basically. And I just you know, there's some really, really cool set pieces in this. And Dominic,
I've watched
sorry,
mate. I was going to say, I've watched this, but I cannot remember anything about it other than, does Jigsaw fall in like a glass bottle?
Yeah. Fantastic scene. I was, I think, similar to like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. I was just salty about this at the time, that they'd replaced the actor that I really loved in the role. But you know, I would agree that there's some amazing stuff. Like I love how comic booky it goes. Fantastic. Dominic
West,
Jigsaw. West, as Jigsaw, amazing. I think a really great design for him as well. And the storyline was quite interesting. I don't know if it's pulled from the comics, but like that Punisher kills an undercover cop, and he has to kind of deal with whether what he's doing is worth the risk of that happening. You know, I thought that was quite good.
I do think Dominic West Jigsaw is one of my favorite kind of villains that they've put on screen. I just really think he nailed the comic book sort of nature, but it's still a dude, you know. I just think he sort of played that maniacal element to the character really well. And lastly, here on the right, sorry Peter.
We move on to I think what would be a lot of people's favorite Punisher, but from memory, like I say, I can't remember a lot about it, but that Jigsaw was a really pretty horrific design as compared to what we're getting later version of Punisher. It's Kingpin. He's been pretending to be Punisher all along.
I know. It was me all along.
I think the follow-up version of Jigsaw was quite a visually big disappointment, you know, especially like going from season 1 to season 2, you know. But we can talk about that now.
Hashtag not my Jigsaw. So Jon Bernthal obviously debuted in Daredevil Series 2 back in 2015, 2016, I can't remember. And then his show started in 2017. Where of course it went on for 2 seasons, and we're going to get the return of our prodigal Frank Castle in Daredevil Born Again, which has got a lot of people excited. So I think, you know, just sort of chime in before you guys do. I think with a lot of things, right, like acting has developed tenfold. I think in like the way that we put movies together and tell stories it's advanced, right, in a lot of ways. And I do think when you look at Jon Bernthal's version of Frank and the complexity and the layers and just the level of acting, I do think it completely wipes the floor of the other guys. To say that that's your favorite, not necessarily, because it might be that you prefer that more sort of simplistic version or the more angry version of like Ray Stevenson or whatever. But like I think Jon Bernthal, it's a really textured performance and actually annoyingly unpraised, like for me, like award winning. I think the like courtroom scene and like stuff like that.
He was perfect casting though. I remember back at the time, before they even announced the Punisher coming to the MCU, we just gotten Daredevil season 1. He was the only actor I could think of that I think could play that role, and when he was cast, I was stunned. I was so happy about it. But I love him in the role. I think he's fantastic. Like Daredevil season 2, I think is the best of his performance in that. But like one thing that frustrates me about his show is that he doesn't really get to be the Punisher that much. It's usually like a montage either at the start or at the end where he's doing Punisher-y things, and then it just stops. You know what I mean? Like season 2 of Daredevil is the only time where he kind of does Punisher-y stuff.
I've recently watched Punisher. So I'd watched him in Daredevil, but I watched his own series just a month or 2 back, actually. And it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. That first episode in the bar fight scene is breathtaking and brutal. But going back to what Ben said about the kind of the nuances of his performance and stuff like that, this is going to sound really stupid, but the point where I realized how good of an actor he is, having used no other, I was ex-RAF and being around squaddies and things like that, down to him eating a tin of beans and the way he kind of shovels it into his mouth and stuff like that is absolutely spot on to it's just amazing. I love it. Absolutely love it. I was devastated when the series ended, to be honest, because I wanted more. But I want that. I'm worried about Daredevil because I like the hyper violent kind of Punisher what we got.
I think John Bernthal said that he'd only come back to keep it the same as the Netflix.
Yeah. I have faith that they'll represent the character properly.
Yeah. Superb. Anything left to add, Ben? Nope. Brilliant. Some excellent performances. You've kind of made us want to go back and rewatch all of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even the Dolph Lundgren one. Yeah. I was devastated because Dolph Lundgren and Thomas Jane were supposed to be at Wales Comic Con last year. So I got a copy of Punisher 1 and I wanted them both to sign it, but they both pulled out. They both pulled out the week before something.
That's Wales Comic Con for you.
Yeah. Tom Jane is someone I'll queue up to get Punisher.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway. Superb. Thank you, Ben. John Wick. So I know some of you have seen the latest movie. I know some of you have seen previous John Wicks, and I'm not going to bang on about this. But the people that make the John Wick movies, I would love to see them make a live-action Punisher movie.
Oh, 100%. I think that kind of that action style, like the gun combat, and it would suit Punisher perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost replace Keanu as Punisher in the movies. Do you know what I mean? That kind of hyper violence and stuff like that. I would love to see that. Just putting it out there. James.
Yeah, so on the video game side, not a huge amount of his own kind of titles, but there was 2 released in 1990. So this is Punisher for the NES. It's kind of it's a very unique kind of perspective, but like Punisher's sort of at the bottom of your screen, and I think you move him with one stick just side to side. It's almost like Space Invaders. You're kind of shooting at people like from the bottom of the screen. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Kind of mixed. I don't think people regard this one very. I
can't remember that at
very
all.
Highly.
That one, no.
The NES anyway. Visually quite good, I think, for the time anyway. And then the 1990 again, there was a one for I think the Amiga and the DOS, but it was just sort of a first person kind of point and click, almost like shooter, like a light gun shooter, almost with your mouse. So yeah,
is that Jigsaw in a Punisher costume?
I believe it is. I think he's the final boss in the game. So yeah, that one. But and then the Punisher the arcade game. I don't know if any of you have seen this in an arcade. I think I saw one in Tenerife or something when I was younger. But like kind of up there with X-Men and Spider-Man Maximum Carnage is like a side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Yeah, it's like a Streets of Rage.
Yeah, just huge. Capcom, I believe, published it, hugely popular at the time. I'm actually surprised there's not more of them around, or like they haven't like made a modern like just tabletop one to play. But this is one. So I think it's Frank and Nick Fury. I think you're just taking on the Kingpin and all his goons. But yeah, it's definitely a great one. But this is the one I really want to talk about. This is my favorite PS2 game. I absolutely adore this one. So this is Punisher from 2005. It is simultaneously, it's a sequel to the movie with Tom Jane. Tom Jane reprises the role, which is why I hear him as the Punisher is large because of this performance. Also, my favorite design for the Punisher, like here, the fingerless gloves, that kind of the movie skull and everything. So it's a third-person shooter. You kind of run around shooting. It's developed by Volition, who wanted to do Saints Row, and a lot of the gameplay from this sort of leaked into Saints Row, like kind of taking hostages and throwing people and stuff. Some of the animations even are still there. But it's also a kind of adaptation of various Garth Ennis books. Like a lot of the dialogue is kind of ripped straight from it. But it is notorious for being one of the most violent video games ever made. So there's like a hefty interrogation system in the game where you kind of scare these guys to get like information. And if they give you the information, you could just you flick the thumbstick up and you just like drill them in the head or whatever. This top right one is like a Stark Industries laser you're using. But my favorite one is there's a sequence in the zoo, and you can hold the guy up to.
I was just going to say that's my favorite one.
That's my favorite one. Yeah, absolutely. You're like, oh, and just like if you let him get ran into and he gets thrown around. But like, yeah, there's some amazing stuff in it. Had to be, I believe it was banned in Australia. Had to be really heavily censored, like during these kills. I think this top left one is like an uncensored one from a PC version. But when you kill them in the game, it goes kind of black and white, and sometimes it'll cut away. But still, like quite very. Visceral stuff, especially for a comic book.
You played this one, Ben?
Yeah. Back in the day, I think.
Yeah. And then some kind of cameos from various like Marvel characters. As Nick Fury is a mission where you're kind of on an island taking on like Russians with him. Black Widow gets a mission. Like I said, there's a Stark Industries level, so Tony Stark shows up at the end, and then Matt Murdock has like a 2-minute cameo where he comes in trying to be a lawyer and you tell him to piss off, basically. I thought that was a really great one. And then some of the villains that show up in it, so there's Bullseye and Kingpin kind of are in it. It's unfortunate there's like a post-credit scene with them that kind of teases a sequel that we unfortunately never got. But they kind of recreate the Russian fight from the movie as well, which is like one of my favorite boss fights in anything. You're like slamming him into things and like whacking him with fridge doors and things. It's great. And then like Bushwhacker as well shows up. So yeah, that's a great one. GP, you play this one?
Yeah, I played it on the Xbox back in the day. Yeah, really good. Like I said, my favorite interrogation was the zoo as well, with the rhino.
Yeah. The zoo level, I think, is one of my favorite levels in any game. I think that's pulled from a Garth Ennis story as well. And then, like tying into the movie. So Jigsaw in the movie, in the game, is Howard Saint's son. So the bit where he leaves him hanging with the bomb.
Yeah.
So basically, it blows him out a window and shreds his face. And the last level is he's like basically stolen an Iron Man suit, and he's.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So it's that guy from the movie. So I thought really cool. Like I think that would have been a good origin. I don't know maybe if he would keep that actor, but it would have been a good origin for him in the movies if they went that route.
Very cool.
Yeah, fantastic game though. My favorite PS2 game by a million miles. I take it you've never heard of this one.
I haven't, but even the cover art. What the hell is going on with the cover art?
Now it's a downloadable title. So this is like I don't know if this is a mock-up cover. Like there was never a physical disc for it, but it's called The Punisher: No Mercy. So I think this was sort of to tie in with the Ray Stevenson movie. Like it's the same font for the logo, but I don't think it takes the character models or anything. But it's like a multiplayer kind of like GoldenEye, kind of 4v4, I think, where you pick characters. Like you can play as the Punisher, you can play as Barracuda or Jigsaw, or whatever, and it's just kind of an arena shooter. I remember playing it at the time. It was not very good. So that's unfortunately the last Punisher game to ever come out. But I'm really praying to God that we get another one at some point down the road, especially with how far like these licensed games have come.
Yeah.
I'm playing Marvel Midnight Suns at the moment. I'm not sure if he's going to turn up in that. There's lots of characters keep appearing, but I don't know if he's going to be in that. Yeah, that looks awful, James. I'm not going to lie.
It's abysmal. It's really, really bad.
Who signed that artwork off?
Yeah.
I think this is just the thumb for the PlayStation Store. But yeah, just bad.
Horrendous.
Yeah. Do a remake of that PS2 one. That was amazing game. So yeah, I love that.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, James. Right, guys, let's have a quick canter through some of the different merchandise you can get related to the Punisher. As usual, you can get your whole array of different bits and bobs, bags, watches, Funk Pops, headphones, all the rest of it. They're beard combs. I wasn't aware. Have you got any of those, James? Have you got GP? You got a Punisher beard comb?
I haven't. No, I don't keep my beard long enough.
I'm immediately going to eBay to get one though. Great thing. I did have this. I remember a wallet. You get those like rip off merchandise in Spain or whatever. I had like a wallet, like a soft wallet with the Punisher logo. I think I still have it somewhere. I don't use it anymore. But I remember that. I remember the Funko Pop for him at the time, picking up in Forbidden Planet, and there was like a dent on the box, and I didn't get it, and like it's just too expensive now. Like it's gone up.
It's quite cool. I like the Holden DD's helmet there. And I like the watch. I do quite like the watch, mind, I have to say. Awesome. But yeah, you guys got any unusual Punisher kit? Any items?
Who first?
Well, you got the show. Let's have a look. We'll go to James first.
In spite of the fact that he's one of my favorite characters, I don't have a huge amount of merchandise. I have a copy of the game behind me here, but I don't want to knock off over any things to get it. But I do have a John Bernthal Punisher Marvel Legend anyway, so I'm happy I got that guy.
Very cool.
Really good one anyway. So I always have him posing, shooting the gun up on my shelf. So
very cool. I like that. Ben?
So I've got this, which is Punisher
nice.
number 1, but it's signed by John Romita Jr.
Right.
It's signed on the inside. So yeah, pretty special.
Very
nice
cool.
wraparound cover. One of those kind of die cut ones that has another cover underneath. So very cool.
So if any of the Punisher actors came back to one of the cons you were at, would you get that signed or?
No.
No.
No, like I don't really do actors on comics. Really, I've got one. I've got a Boba Fett comic signed by Jeremy Bullock, but other than that,
very cool.
It's not really something I do. But this is my signature from Mr. Bernthal.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
And it was very cool because I met him in New York, which felt very right.
I also met him in New York.
Oh, cool.
At New York Comic Con, he did like a surprise kind of signing thing there.
Together?
It was before, maybe at the same time. It was, I think he had been cast, but he hadn't, there was no promotional material from his appearance in Daredevil yet, so I got a Walking Dead thing signed. But I do want to, next time he's at a convention, I'll go get a Punisher thing, definitely.
Yeah, I want a photo with him because there were no photos allowed sort of thing, so I just got like a photo of him in the queue with a shaky hand because I was so nervous because I'm really quite attracted to him as well on a personal level, so it's it was a bit of a double whammy for me in terms of nerves. Both me and Grace both had a wide on for him, so
you just want an opportunity to touch him then in the photo.
But you know what? He was a fucking sweetheart. He was so charming, and like I spoke, he was like, "Oh, you're a long way from home," and I was like, "Yeah, we're on holiday and stuff." And very, very cool, great experience. I really hope he comes back over and I can get a nice. I'll probably get the Punisher get up on and get a better fucking wig than the one I just had.
Yeah. You got good like slick back hair one.
Slick back, Ben. Slick back, very good. I'm jealous of that signature. I'd like that one. GP, what about yourself, mate?
Apart from comic books and a T-shirt, I don't have any Punisher stuff.
Now, GP, you had something you showed us earlier. If you want to show again.
Okay then. 2 seconds.
Look at that leg. My viewers have just shot up. Look at that.
There is
tremendous. Good stuff.
But there is a Diamond Select Punisher I do want, where he's got one of the thugs smashed into a pinball machine. There's a diorama. So I am going to be looking to pick that up.
Very cool. I have got to show this guy. I'm not going to move him because he'll collapse. This is the die-cast War Machine Punisher. It's actually not based on the comic. It's based on the computer game Marvel Future Fight. But it's a stunning figure. Absolutely stunning. I don't normally go in for all of these kind of effect pieces, but I think on that guy it looks good. He's got light up eyes and chest and all the rest of it. And of course behind we've got the first appearance of Punisher.
Of course.
So so some nice bits and bobs there. Just quickly jumping on the chat, we had Dr. Von Hoot join. Thank you very much, bud. We've got Hydra Collectibles. Thanks very much, Luke. He's going to catch up tomorrow. We've got Rob from Rob's Fat Stats. Thanks very much, mate. Thank you for joining. Right. So moving on, guys. Other merchandise. As it's the Punisher, obviously there's some guns you can buy, and I'm not going to touch on the whole controversy with the skull thing and all that kind of jazz, but it is quite sad that the skull emblem and the costume has been kind of adopted, I guess, by some interesting characters. Hijacked, we know that Marvel's changed the design, and we'll touch on that a little bit later on. But like I say, it's quite sad that they've slapped that emblem on. And this mustn't be licensed, because I can't imagine Marvel allowing this kind of stuff.
No, of course
that being said, if I was in America, I 100% would get a Punisher gun.
I know someone in America who's got a Punisher gun.
I've got just the gun for you, James. Now, this is a crap image, but this is the Punisher transforming gun that came out a few years back. Now, best feature of this, look at that.
Yeah, I remember.
That's actually where the.
Wow.
I mean, who the hell signs off on that?
Take your eye out, that.
I mean, Frank's showing his Frank's showing his masculinity there, but yeah. So that's some of the toys.
The irony is, sorry, Pete, I do want to go back and just like throw my 2 pence in with that T-shirt on the left. The irony is, the bellends who wear those T-shirts are the people that the Punisher goes after.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Hi, Phil. Phil from Phil's Universe has just joined. So these are some of the smaller scale figures you can get. Absolutely love that version. I think it's Marvel Select of Frank with the guy in the Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's the one I was on about. Yeah,
great one.
It's stunning. So some really nice figures there. And of course, there's been a number of Hot Toy releases. So we've got the Daredevil show version from Hot Toy there. Hard figure to get a hold of now. Head sculpt's pretty on point with that, mind. I like that one. Comes with a massive kind of Gatling gun, which I don't remember him using in the show, but
he carries it away. Right, I remember back when the show was being promoted, there was a poster of him shooting that gun, and he never shoots it in the show. He's just like carries it away with him at the end. I mean, never got.
Isn't there that one shot? Like, there's that one shot.
I'm not sure.
No, there's a shot of him as a sniper helping Daredevil, and then the last time we see him.
No, at the end of season 2, and it's like it's
it goes on
the end.
Machine guns, isn't it?
Never used.
We've got Rob saying that the issue Punisher guns at birth in Texas, which you're probably not wrong with. Yeah. So that's the Hot Toy version. You've got the Sideshow version there, which is the figure I've got, but I've swapped the head out for a John head sculpt. But that one actually is quite reminiscent of the what do you call it? The film you just mentioned, Ben. The Ray Stevenson head sculpt. So. But that's a cool figure. One of my favorites, to be honest. I like that one a lot. But now Ben's told us to go back and watch that Ray Stevenson film. I might swap the head sculpt again.
There is there's a figure from VTS. I don't know if you got it.
No, I haven't got that one.
The War Zone. It's good. It's for a third party figure, it's a nice one.
I'll have to look up that one. This one's recently out, I think. This is a relatively new one from Tough Guys. Not heard of that company, which is a Frank Castle. I quite like the design of that one.
Not a fan of the face, but I love that painted skull on his face look as well. I think that's a great one.
Yeah. Fuzzy's never managed to get a Marvel Legend Punisher, unfortunately. So there's a wide array of figures out there that you can pick up, and some really good ones. Okay, guys, moving on to some recommended reads regarding the Punisher, and we've got a nice little smorgasbord for you of different storylines. So, who's this? Is it Ben?
My one, but not the middle.
No, the middle one's just a thing I've got on each side.
So Matthew Rosenberg, volume 12, which is only a couple of volumes ago. Really, really sort of enjoyed this. I felt like it was a bit of a return to form for Punisher. I wasn't really into the skinny Frank beard phase, with the eye patch and that. Like I couldn't get into those ones. And this was great. There's a particular scene with Lift, and he goes up different levels and it just shows you the kind of point of view of the villains, and the bodies are kind of building up and up in the lift. Right. Every level he goes up, it's a really great couple of panels. So do check that out if you're looking for a good sort of recent storyline. And then of course Civil War I sort of alluded to earlier. He did get a couple of, I think it was a 4-part his spin-off. The sort of very memorable sort of moment with Captain America and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. Because I think Captain America is everything that Frank wants to be, but he can't, because life has chosen a different path for him. And he's Frank's kind of the ultimate tragic figure, really, because he doesn't. He almost doesn't want to do what he's doing. He's kind of. It's like a greater purpose for him, now, and I think Captain America is kind of how he probably would have wanted to, deliver justice, which is exactly, what he did when he was, obviously things are sort of changing now, but when you're doing it, in war or whatever, it's like, it's sanctioned, isn't it? Very, very interesting. Love the art as well here.
Yeah. Superb picks, Ben. And the Civil War, the scene I was mentioning earlier on is when they're in the sewers and the kind of the villains are trying to hand themselves in. And he guns them down in front of everybody, and everybody's kind of like, what the hell is going on again? I think, is it Captain America puts him against the wall and kind of challenges him on it? It's just a brilliant scene. It shows how far gone he is compared to everybody else. Phil's mentioning Punisher Kill Crew. I haven't read that one. Phil, I'll have to go and check that one out.
Yes.
A good one. I shall go and read up on that.
I like War of the Realms. I think it's underrated.
Yeah. I've got the omnibus. I haven't read it yet, but I've got that one. James.
Yeah, so welcome back, Frank. The beginning of the Garth Ennis run of Punisher. I think one of the best Punisher stories and a really great starting point if you're looking to kind of be introduced to the character. So just some great stuff. Garth Ennis has such an amazing wish as well. I think like a lot of the dialogue, and it's really funny as well. This is a great part. So yeah, that's one I'd highly recommend. Part of why I love that is also tied to the game as well, because the game adapts quite a lot of that. So I'm the Manucci stuff in particular. And then just an interesting kind of, I love Spider-Man, I love Punisher. What if they were the same character? I think this is a really great kind of what if scenario to put on. So yeah, it's a good read as well. Great cover, cool design. So yeah, one I'd recommend as well.
I'm a big fan of the What If series, but I haven't read that one. I'll have to go and check that one up.
It's very good. Just one issue,
And I love the Ennis run. I mean, that's one of the, like you say, one of the seminal runs, really, isn't it?
It's the best series of covers, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So consistent.
Tremendous. GP.
Yeah, so this is Punisher Invades Nam. Nam being its own series in Marvel, but this is how Punisher come up with the symbol idea. Obviously serving in Vietnam, there's a sniper on the Vietnamese side taking out generals and all sorts, so they send Frank in while he's serving as a sergeant.
Right.
And it's a pretty good read. I'd definitely check it out. A good war story.
I haven't read the Nam in years, but I can't remember those ones. But
just two issues with Frank in. That's
I love how they pop the military hat on the skull.
Yeah, on the Punisher
corner box. Bring back corner box art, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. These yours as well, GP?
Yeah, so the Punisher Batman one, this is the second time Punisher meets Batman. Obviously it's Chuck Dixon and Romita Jr. on art, but this is the first time he meets Bruce Wayne Batman, because I think it was Dick Grayson in the first one.
Right.
But it's a one shot. But yeah, it has Punisher tracking Jigsaw down to Gotham, where he's teamed up with the Joker. It's just a really fun one shot. It basically has the Joker pissed his pants at one point, and Batman steps in and just tells the Joker to run because he knows what Frank's going to do.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, like earlier on the show about the conflict of interest with the Punisher and other superheroes, this absolutely shows it.
Yeah.
It just says to Batman, how many times have you locked him up time and time again and he's escaped? I could have just finished it there and then.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously Circle of Blood was the Punisher Limited series. Yeah, his first series. It's just an awesome read. If you're into your Frank Miller type stories, it's down dark and gritty. Just what the Punisher is, really.
One of my favourites, that GP. That's my first introduction to the Punisher in the reprints in the UK size format books. With Robo
right
and all that kind of jazz in it.
Same as me.
Yeah,
is that technically the second volume or first volume? I always get confused.
Second, I think.
Right.
Or is it his first?
Very early, isn't it? Like.
Yeah.
But it's a superb story, and again, the artwork is phenomenal in it.
Yeah.
Just going back to your other pick, I miss DC Marvel crossovers. I used to quite enjoy some of them. Yeah, some of them are pretty good.
Look at Ben's face.
Ben's not a fan.
Not bad.
Ben's not a fan.
I think we're sort of too far away now from the.
Oh yeah, we'll not get any more. We'll not get any more.
Unfortunate.
Couple of picks from me then. Punisher versus the Marvel Universe. This is the first kind of iteration of this absolutely amazing storyline. Some superb kills. It's basically just Punisher let loose, deciding to wipe out everybody, and he really does some very inventive kills, which I absolutely love. You guys all read this one? It's a classic, really.
Yeah, a while ago, but yeah.
Yeah. I just love everything about it. This next one, Punisher Dark Reign, this is the one I was on about, where he starts to get all the different weaponry and the Marvel Universe kind of equipment and things like that. I agree, mate. Nice to see you. Worth picking up the first few issues of this because it really is a fun run. Ben, I think you'll like it because at some point they go about resurrecting a whole load of old real B-list Marvel villains. So who's the guy in Deadpool that vomits on things? Is it Geist or something? Or
Zeitgeist is X-Men.
So he's one of the ones that the resurrect and things like that. It's a real fun series. It's a bit far removed from what we were talking about in terms of Frank being grounded, but it is a fun read worth picking up.
But to contradict with that, there's a lot of fun to be had when you do kind of let him off the reins a bit, Cosmic Rock, Ghost Rider and stuff.
Yeah. And that's leading nicely onto to this. Dark Reign, the list. So following on from that series I've just talked about, Norman Osborn basically sets Daken, Wolverine's son, on the Punisher. So this is a one-shot Punisher, the list. Anybody read that one?
No.
Well worth a read because it's just a one-shot and it is incredibly graphic. So this is Daken v Punisher, amazing art by Romita Jr. And basically, he gets sliced to bits. You see his arms getting chopped off, his head gets chopped off at the end. It's a real gritty, good Punisher story. So really is well worth a read. When they slice him into bits, he gets picked up by Monster Island, and that's when we get Franken Castle, which was absolutely ridiculous, but good fun for a few issues. There's some real good storylines where Franken Castle's fighting Wolverine, which is quite entertaining. So this is basically a steampunk kind of Frankenstein version of Punisher. Mental, but fun. And then we'll get on to this. So this is the current run of Punisher, which, as Efren said at the start, if you're not reading, you're missing out. This is basically Punisher, who's been drafted in by the it's not the Hand, is it?
Yep,
it's the Hand. Yeah, I've got them mixed up. I couldn't remember which ones. Which ones are the ones that fight with Daredevil and Stick and whatnot? That's not the Hand. That's
the Hand, yeah.
No,
so
I mean like
the Daredevil, the Fist, or
Chase.
Yeah. So this is where he's basically become the kind of the leader of the weapon that they're setting loose on the world, and it's just been amazing. And part of the beauty of this series is that it's retelling his origin a little bit. I wasn't sure how I felt about that at first, but actually it's making very compelling reading, and it's kind of setting out that he's always been a nutter. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it because it is worth reading.
I haven't read it.
Yeah, but it's basically set out that he's crackers. He has been for life. Ben, you've been reading this. What do you think of it, mate?
I think it's stunning. I think it's one of the best Punisher stories ever written. And I mean that. And I was kind of hesitant to say that out loud until we kind of got to 8 issues or whatever. And what are we on now? 8, 9?
Yeah.
And I'm confident to make that statement now because it's, as I said earlier, it's recontextualizing everything that we thought we knew about Frank, and it makes perfect bloody sense. A lot of elements of the Punisher kind of, it's a big swing, to kind of go from where he was to what he is, and what Jason Aaron's done is he's kind of gone back and just kind of embedded very subtle elements to his kind of history, and everything's kind of clicking into place and makes more sense now. And you kind of have that reality perfectly mixed with a very outrageous, fantastical, kind of mystical current kind of situation. And it just perfectly blends, two different artists working on it. Jason Aaron's writing is always character driven, very, very, like, he just gets these characters. And this is a phenomenal story. I cannot, like, every issue I'm just like, I cannot wait for the next issue, because it perfectly kind of gives you a cliffhanger every issue. And I'm sort of really interested to see. It's great because it's flirting with, like, demonizing Frank with what's currently going on, but it just keeps just a shred of humanity and little moments. And so it's just I can't celebrate.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
This might be my read of the year, if I'm being honest. It's
right.
And I think, like Ben says, it's not dropped a beat at any issue. Every single issue I've come away with something that I've absolutely loved about it. Can't gush enough about this one. It's well worth a read. And this, you know how I collect. I'm really hoping to do this in an oversized format or in a kind of a nice hardback or something like that, because this is a story I think I will go back and read multiple times. I hope we've sold it to you, because it really is well worth picking.
Yeah, it sounds good.
It's on my list.
Ephraim, the storyline of recent Punisher is amazing. Bring back you know who, fighting his inner demons, fighting the God of War. Yeah, absolutely, Ephraim. It's just superb. Phil, I need to get onto this. Looking for a nice oversized hardcover. Same, buddy. I would love an oversized on this.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So that's the end of our spotlight on Punisher. Thank you very much, chaps. Been really interesting. Just looking at what's coming up in the future. Our next spotlight. Our next spotlight is going to be on Scooby-Doo. A little bit of a change for it. But I know we've got a number of Scooby-Doo fans amongst our kind of fraternity. So I'm quite looking forward to this one. I think this will be interesting. I think it'll be fun.
I'm so happy. We're doing this.
I can see the glee in your eyes there, James.
This is going to be a great
what we'll probably do, chaps, is when we do the reads section, we'll mention reads, I guess, but we'll add a section about favourite episodes. So we can do that. So that'll be a real interesting one. This is my menu for April. The show's coming out. So next Monday we've got Let's Talk Toys, where we'll cover all things action figures. Week after that, we've got our top 3 Star Wars scenes. That got Ben and James very, very excited. Ephraim, if you're still watching, mate, everybody else's scenes are in, so you need to get your scenes in as soon as you lose. Yeah. We've then got, after that, excuse me, Art Attack, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then we've got Spotlight, as I've just mentioned. So lots of stuff going on there. Saturday night, I haven't 100% decided yet, but I'm probably going to be doing a live show at 9 o'clock where everyone's saying no Scrappy-Doo. Fair enough, mate. We'll be covering some of the geeky news, a little bit conversation about what we've been reading, buying, and a little bit about what you've been watching. And we're going to do a bit of a focus on asking everybody that joins me what their favourite action movies are this time, because we did horror movies last time. So we'll talk about action movies on this occasion. Ben, little geeky face.
Yeah.
Very happy. So acquired a bit of a personal grail of mine. A custom Major Chip Hazard made by the Bat Fanatic. Incredible piece. Not a smooth journey, some slightly concerning elements to the unboxing experience, but now that I've got him and he's sort of displayed and where it needs to be, it feels so right. So head over to my channel, Attention Seeking Geek, and give that a watch. I'm going to post a little reel on that tonight as well.
Ben, can I just ask, when you saw it was a shoebox, what was the first thought that went through your head?
Well, I shit my pants. It was not good. It was not good.
I have to say, Ben, that video was an absolute pleasure to watch. Just seeing the joy in your little face. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. James, you're still banging on with this.
Last time I'm milking this, it was a lot of work, Peter. Okay, it was 9 weeks. Yeah, my Last of Us.
Peter's been doing this for 2 years.
If you don't know, my Last of Us reviews are on my channel, and I've been banging out shorts every other day as well, doing kind of rankings and stuff like that. But I will have an edited video next week.
Good stuff.
Surprise.
Good stuff. Yeah, if you haven't watched The Last of Us, who am I kidding? Everybody's watched it by now, haven't they? Yeah. I mean, yeah, go and watch it. Bit of a quick shout out to the UK community. I cannot shout out to This Week Metropolis because they're on a season break. But Wednesday on the Nerd Herd, they are watching The Many Deaths of, is it Lila or Layla? Layla Starr by Ram V, an amazing book. So please do go and check out their review of that. I suspect that's going to score highly. Be interesting to see what the scoreboard's like. I haven't checked the scoreboard for a while, but I think my pick is still number 1. So yeah, be interesting. We've got Killer Comic Show on Thursday. I will be on the Killer Comic Show this Thursday with Charlie, where we're reviewing Dead Romans. So that should be interesting. And then every Saturday, we've got Grey Man's Cover Slingers. So go and check out that. Grey Man also does a whole host of other shows during the week as well. So please check those shows out. Marvelous. Phil's just confirmed I am still top spot. I get some kind of trophy or something, I'm sure. Pete, massive congrats to you, bud.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
which is phenomenal. So well done.
Let's see how long I stay there.
Yeah, really pleased for you, mate. That's superb.
Yeah.
And if anybody thinks that I do a lot of content, bloody hell.
Yeah, well, bloody hell do I start? Yeah, so if anybody knows, I've got a third channel. Yeah, free. Destroy All Movies, and I put up at least 1 or 2 movies a week, and there's some 80s cartoons on there and some short horror films. On the GP Venom side of things, Doctor Strange review for Volume 1 is out this Friday, and obviously the 2K giveaway. And on my card channel, Let's Go GP, I'm 1 off 1,000 subscribers on that.
Wow.
So
amazing.
Absolutely incredible, mate.
Busy little beaver.
Yeah. Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, you've hit some of my favorite things there. Visionaries, Mask, and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to see the new Dungeons and Dragons movie on Friday, and the rumors are that there's a scene with the characters from the cartoon in it.
Apparently so, yeah. Just in the background.
I mean, if there is, I'll literally scream in the cinema.
I won't even know that it's them. Be like, oh, that was them.
Well, James, go to my channel and find out who they are.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff, chaps. So yeah, loads of good content on Pete's channel. So please do check that out. Grey Man's asking about your car channel. He's got every kind of flavor of channel you want, Grey.
Yeah.
What's it called again? Is it Let's Go GP?
Let's Go GP.
Yeah. So just quickly checking the chat before we moved. I hope that's the last of James mentioning The Last of Us.
Excuse me. Never.
Phil's going to start strategic scoring. Harsh. And he's saying, well done, GP. So
thank you very much, mate.
Phil saying, I fancy reading the new D&D comic. Yeah, mate, I spotted that. It looks really good. So yeah, I will be picking up that. Fuzzy's never watched an episode of Last of Us, James.
You're missing out, man.
How's that even
missing out?
Right,
possible, yeah. Fuzzy? And he's saying, well done. Thank you very much, bud. Okie dokie, chaps. Ben's disappeared, but I'm sure he'll be back in a bit. That's your whack, ladies and gents. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much to the panel. Ben will be back. I'm not going to spin it out until Ben comes back. Ben will say bye-bye, I'm sure. So with that, we'll kind of call it an end to the show. Thank you very much for the panel, and thanks very much for everybody for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.